In a dry riverbed in Ethiopia, three lions stood over a crying 12-year-old girl. Any one of them could have ended her in a second. Lions kill more people every year than sharks do. They did not touch her. They drove off the men who had taken her, and then they stayed, guarding her among the stones and thorn scrub until police arrived. So why would an animal built to kill you decide to stand between you and death instead? The answer is stranger than affection, and it has nothing to do with love. Start with what should be impossible. Nature does not reward being nice to strangers. An animal that burns energy, takes a risk, or dies protecting a creature it cannot breed with should lose to the animal that minds its own business and feeds its own young. Evolution is not sentimental. And yet the reports keep arriving, from riverbeds and zoo enclosures and open ocean, of dangerous animals putting their bodies between a human and a hunter for nothing in return. The girl had been crying for hours, and a crying child sounds almost exactly like a lion cub. The lions were not moved by her humanity. They heard a cub, but this is not a one-off, and it is not only children. It has been recorded protecting grown men and scientists alone in the open ocean. But is a misread cry enough to explain all of it? Take a silverback gorilla, an animal that can tear a limb from a body without straining. In the summer of 1996, at a zoo outside Chicago, a 3-year-old boy climbed the wall around a gorilla enclosure and fell more than 20 feet onto the concrete below, knocking himself unconscious. 7 gorillas were inside. Visitors at the wall above began screaming. An 8-year-old named Binti Jua walked over with her own infant clinging to her back, gathered the boy up the way you would lift a sleeping toddler, carried him across the shallow river inside the enclosure and up a slope, and set him at the service door where keepers waited. She turned her shoulder toward the other gorillas as she went. The boy spent 4 days in hospital and recovered. But could she have been trained? Primatologists argued for years, because Binti was hand-raised and taught to handle infants. So consider Jambo, a silverback at a zoo on Jersey, who stood guard over an unconscious boy who fell into his enclosure. Jambo was raised by his own mother, trained for nothing. The instinct has a name: alloparenting, the drive to protect anything small and helpless that reads as an infant. A gorilla does not check your species. It checks your size, your stillness, your obvious inability to defend yourself. So how far does this go? Try an animal heavier than a truck. In 2017, marine biologist Nan Hauser was working off the Cook Islands when a humpback whale began shoving her with its head. It tucked her under a pectoral fin the size of a door, ridged with barnacles that scraped her wetsuit, refusing to let her swim free. Hauser has spent a career refusing to romanticize animals, and she thought the whale had lost its mind. Then she reached the boat, watched the footage, and saw the tiger shark that had circled below her the whole time. She has said that if it had happened to anyone else and had not been filmed from 3 angles, she would not have believed a word of it. And the whale case is more than a story. Humpbacks have a documented habit biologists call interspecific altruism, stepping into a fight that is not theirs, for an animal that is not theirs. The numbers behind it get strange. Is it only the giants that do this? And now the animal you were not expecting on this list? Picture yourself in chest-deep water off Ocean Beach in New Zealand. An ordinary gray morning, when 7 bottlenose dolphins come at you fast and start turning tight circles around your body. Your first instinct is relief. Dolphins, the friendly ones. Look at what a bottlenose dolphin actually is. In the Moray Firth in Scotland, scientists found that nearly 2/3 of dead harbor porpoises had died of internal injuries and broken bones, and the spacing of the tooth marks on them matched the jaws of bottlenose dolphins. They had killed them and left them. Not for food, just killed them. Here's the part nobody puts on a postcard. The same animal rams sharks with its snout hard enough to kill them, and that gentle smile is an accident of the skull, not a statement of character. So, what exactly are you, floating in the middle of that ring? To a dolphin, you are not a person. You are a soft, slow creature with no fins and no plan, and they could end you without effort. So, what actually happened that morning? A lifeguard named Rob Howes was on a training swim with 3 younger lifeguards, one his teenage daughter. The dolphins herded the 4 swimmers into a tight knot, slapped the water with their tails, and shoved Howes back in when he tried to drift out. Then he turned and understood. A great white shark was gliding in a slow arc toward the girls. The dolphins held that ring for 40 minutes, until the shark lost interest and left. So, are these just the rare stories that make the news? Scientists asked exactly that. Researcher Robert Pittman and 13 colleagues gathered every documented case they could find of humpback whales interfering with hunting killer whales and published it in the journal Marine Mammal Science. They found 115 encounters, spread across 6 decades and every ocean on Earth. Now guess what the whales were defending? Their own calves, surely. That is what the numbers should say. They do not. In nearly 9 out of 10 of those encounters, the animal the humpbacks charged in to protect was not a humpback at all. It was a seal on an ice floe, a sea lion, a gray whale calf. In one case, a single fish. Read that again, because it takes the warm explanation apart. These whales were not saving families. They swam toward the sound of a hunt and broke it up, over and over, for animals they had never met. Pittman's team called it mobbing behavior and put a careful question mark after the word altruism. That phrase from earlier had just become 115 data points. So what was really happening around Rob Howes, and in every case before it? Biologists have one mechanism that covers all of them, and it is not kindness. They call it kin selection spillover. The instinct evolved to keep an animal's own young alive, but evolution never built a precise filter on it. It is the same machinery a dolphin uses to push a drowning calf up to the air, and a gorilla uses to lift its own infant off the ground. It fires on cues, not on species. Small, weak, distressed, nearby. Which brings us back to those lions in the riverbed. Something made the sound of a cub, the machinery started, and never asked whether it really was one. So, does that ruin the story? Or finish it? Scientists are careful here, and they should be. Mike Heithaus, who studies these animals, says plainly that dolphins are probably not intentionally saving anyone. Pittman himself notes that in nature, the explanation leaning toward self-interest is almost always the more likely one. And the tidy theory that we bred protectiveness into animals collapses the moment you look at a wild humpback, which no human has ever bred for anything. Notice what that takes away and what it leaves. It takes away the story where you are special, chosen, recognized. It does not take away the whale. And here is the part that is impossible to shake. The same instinct that shelters is the instinct that kills. The arms strong enough to lift a fallen child are strong enough to end almost anything. The snout that drove off a great white is a battering ram. Deadly and gentle were never two different animals. They are one machine, pointed differently. And what decides which one you meet is only what the animal believes it is looking at. And that is the moment this stops being a story about animals at all. That same machine, the one that never checks who deserves saving, did not stop when it reached us. You are running a version of it right now. You have felt it in the half-second lurch toward a child who is not yours, wobbling near an edge. The flinch when a stranger stumbles on the stairs. Your body moving before the thinking part of you is even consulted. That is, the lion hearing a cub. That is, the whale turning toward the shark. Same wiring, quieter setting. And it is not only the sudden moments. It is the stranger who stopped to help when your car died on a dark road. The friend who called at exactly the wrong hour and somehow knew not to hang up. The hand quick enough to catch your arm before you stepped off the curb. Almost none of them were weighing whether you had earned it. They were close enough and human enough that something moved before they had time to decide. That is the real answer to why deadly animals save us. Protection was never a verdict on whether the saved one deserves it. It is a reflex older than judgment. You did not choose that reflex. It chose first, and you caught up afterwards. Which means kindness is not a feeling you summon. It is a position you take. Stand near people in trouble, and the oldest part of you will know what to do before the rest finishes arguing. You do not have to love a stranger to save one. You only have to be close enough to hear something small crying, and be built the way you are built. The lions never decided that girl deserved to live. They heard something small and frightened, and the oldest part of them answered. And when the officer arrived, they turned and walked back into the trees, exactly as the whale sank away once the shark was gone, exactly as the dolphins swam out to sea. Perhaps that is the purest form of it. To protect something you cannot understand, expect nothing back and leave without ever knowing you were the hero of somebody's whole life. If you'd come back for another deep dive like this one, subscribe. That's the signal we use to know these are worth making. There is another one already on the way, and it will be well worth your time. See you there.